Well, everybody, you know you're famous when, you have that one name and everybody knows you by that one name. But these two are extra famous. You want to know why? Because they each have a name. And I don't think it matters which one you call because they synonymously both kind of respond. So who do I have? Well, Colin and Justin, my boyfriends. Welcome, guys.
Hey, hello there, Aaron. How are you? You look fabulous.
I love you. See, I just need to talk to you every day because you are like what I call instant boosts, right? You just make everybody's day. And this is natural. You're literally like this every day.
You're kind of like a young Bonnie Tyler with that fabulous hair, all backlit and glamorous.
I love you.
Oh, no. Who's the girl from Roger Rabbit? What's her name?
Oh.
Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit. I can see you as a Jessica Rabbit
Look at
sort.
that,
Like
eh?
that big boofy hair. It's gorgeous.
I love you. Well, listen, you two full of gorgeousness. Let's talk about what you're up to. So you're right now, I can see there's stuff going on behind you. There's a reno project. Let's start there. And I think Sharon Donaldson, when she was here last talking about the Cottage Life show, you guys are doing the Slanty Shanty. You need to explain what that's all about.
It sounds like a dance, doesn't it? Join Colin and Justin for the Slanty Shanty.
A little more than that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of hip shaking in it. And, there is a lot of shaking in it, actually, because we've been filming season 2 of Colin and Justin's Cabin Pressure for the Cottage Life Network. Right. And it premiered on Sunday just gone. It's on every Sunday, 9 o'clock, so don't miss it. Okay. But we bought ourselves a Slanty Shanty, a nice little kind of house, a tiny little classic cottage in Halliburton that sits on a 45-degree angle, hence the name Slanty Shanty.
Like that. So literally
dipping down. But we looked at so many houses. Cottaging is really, really easy if you find the right house, but it's really tricky if you find the wrong house. So we got ourselves in tow with a really good realtor called Rob Seraduk, and he also has a show on the Cottage Life Network called What's for Sale, and he really knows the Halliburton area. So we looked at the best part of 40 or perhaps even 45 cabins, and every one of them had a bag of problems that we couldn't see our way through. But there was something about the one that we did like, which is this Slanty Shanty on Drag Lake. Listing as it was to 45 degrees to one side, we had to lift it up. And you can see if you watch the show on Sunday night on Cottage Life, even if you don't have Cottage Life in your regular cable package, it's in free preview at the moment. But if you watch the show on Sunday night, you'll see that we literally had the house lifted 20 feet off the air to dig down a proper basement, get rid of the piers. And we added a living room, a bedroom, we added a laundry, an electric room, and a mudroom. So it was the best advice our contractor could ever have given us. He said, speculate here, because even though you don't plan selling that cabin, it'll have a really big impact on the value. So we took his advice, and that's exactly what's happened.
You're investors, let's be real, and you understand that. At the end of the day, a 3-season is never going to sell for as much as a 4-season dwelling. And when you've got the bones, and a lot of people focus on the design elements, they focus on the cosmetic touches, but what you guys did is so key in terms of education. It's taking and finding that right property. Okay, and usually it's the property that you got to feel in love with. Then you got to look at that dwelling and say, okay, how can I make this suit our lifestyle? But what you did is you went a step further and said, okay, you know what? From a resale perspective, but also just from a maintenance perspective, having something where you've jacked it up, you've actually put a basement in, now all of your workings, now all of your electrical, all of the fixtures, everything underneath is secured and it's heated and it's sustainable. You're not going to have the same issues that you would have with a 3-season property because critters are a big problem. We do get a lot of condensation because we're 4-season. So, breathing is great to have airflow, but when it's exposed like that, it's just more expensive to maintain. It's more expensive to operate. It's not efficient at all. And more importantly, you'll never get the same amount of money as what you've just done. So that I love is because you're teaching people, here's things you need to consider.
Well, for sure, and even the thing, you talk about a 4-season cottage. What is a 4-season cottage? You get out there and you start looking at the inventory out there. Yeah. Sometimes 4-season can actually be that there actually is a road that comes here. And that's the only thing it makes it 4-season. So don't assume that because it has 4-season written on it, that actually, the windows are going to be watertight, and it's going to be properly insulated because you're going to be disappointed. I think the thing about the Slanty Shanty, it really is an ugly duckling, but it probably was the most honest house in Canada. Because all of its scars were on display.
Right.
There was nothing hidden here. It's not like we were buying a wolf in sheep's clothing. This was the full howler. and you could see all of its problems, So we went into this with very open eyes, knowing exactly what we were getting ourselves into.
So talk about how important that is for people out there that are shopping. Lots of people, this is their dream. It's a Canadian dream, but globally as well. People come from all around the world to take advantage of our amazing Canadian lakes. So we're very privileged and lucky about that. I think we take it for granted a little bit. But how important is it when people are shopping? You've just brought out some great points. You can read and see on the listing 4 season. Well, it can mean something very different to a lot of people. So and what should people do when looking and shopping for a cottage?
So many of the cottages that are on the market have millions of hidden secrets, and you've really got to know what you're buying. You've got to understand the lake. You can change everything about your cabin, but you can't change the lake. You can't change the position. So don't be put off by a cabin that appears really rough, because hopefully there'll be some maneuverability and some negotiation in price. A realtor is really important, a good, trustworthy realtor that can really take you through the maze of what's available. You've got to spend a lot of time at that cottage before you make an offer for it, and clearly having an inspection done is critically important. While we looked and loved our Slanty Shanty, we knew there were a lot of problems, but we had no idea just how many problems there were until we took ownership, because even though we had a good inspection, you peel back the layers and you find all manner of other stuff. Who knew that mouse poop could have caused a massive rot problem in our ceiling? Because there had been so much mouse poop and so much mouse wee and raccoon poop that all the woodwork had started to rot. So a ceiling that we thought we could save, an outside roof line that we thought we could create and protect, had to be totally taken down. And on cabin pressure, our hearts were broken, Erin, because we fell in love with a cabin that turned out to be a completely different beast than what we thought we were buying. We bought a pig in lipstick, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, I remember.
You could see it all, but we didn't know that we were going to have to take as much of it away. We actually figured that you buy 100% of a cottage and you end up normally throwing about 20 or 30% of it in a dumpster as you renovate. Yeah. With this cottage on cabin pressure 2 and Cottage Life, we bought 100% and we threw away 95%. The only part we could save was a part of the rear wall, a little bit of the side wall, and the floor. Everything else had to be taken away.
But the difference, boys, is that you knew that going into it. You had a better understanding this time around than your first time around on cabin pressure. Because I remember you were a little disappointed. You felt a little wounded, so to speak, because you're very educated. You know what you're doing. I mean, let's talk about your history. I mean, you started off, literally, the two of you, taking a flat in England, and you renovated it, and you did it again and again, and your dream was to get to over 1 million. I think you did that in how many episodes did you manage to do that? 10 flips?
We did it in 7. We had a house for £100,000, which was the national average in Britain at that point.
Crazy.
And within 7 flips, we sold the last one for 1.4 million. And so we learned a lot about property renovation. And I think, and we still flip properties. And we still have quite a portfolio of other properties. But I think we're now at that stage, whereby sure we've been kind of property investors and we're interior designers, and it's nice to try and fuse those two things together. And I think having a cabin gives you a perfect opportunity to do that, because it is an indulgent buy. It is escapist. It is about, leaving the city, getting close to nature. But at the same time, you drive for 2 hours, 3 hours to get out of the city. And so many cabins, let's face it, are a disappointment. And we love the idea. Sure, you're going to reuse some old furniture. That's great. But come on, can you give it a lick of paint? Could you reupholster something? Could you even use it in a different room so that you create a different look? And I think that's something that we listen to cottage owners from season 1 of Cabin Pressure. We listened to what they had to say, and then we acted on that. So here in season 2, we spend our money wisely on the build, on the construction, and making sure that we're on solid ground, that the house is good. But then we actually recycle loads of pieces, So we take the old dock, which is lying half in the water, half out. All the flotation has gone out of it. So we take that apart and we make a headboard for the bed.
Fantastic.
The giant TV mast aerial. The TV mast is on the back of every cottage.
Yep.
We cut that down because Justin thinks it looks like the Eiffel Tower. So we turn it into a floor lamp.
I wonder if we can give you a look at that, actually.
Yeah, let's see.
If it's going to work. Hold on, we'll take our little screen across here and show you.
Oh my, look at it.
This, and if I go down the length of that, you can see that is a television mast.
It is.
Antenna. We cropped the top part off, added that shade, And all of a sudden, we've created a completely and singularly unique product.
I love it. You take recycling to a whole new level. But you know what's important here? I mean, you guys have to admit, you had done so many, whether it be commercial, residential, condos. A lot of it was city-focused. And you took a leap and said, okay, now let's try in Canada. I mean, it's cottaging, so let's go for it. But you have to admit, even in that first season, you learned so much. Even though the fundamental rules still apply, you as an expert, surround yourself with key people that know what they're doing, but still there's always hidden treasures. And what was great is that by going through that process, you now have even more in your toolbox. You have more education to pass on to people to help save them that bloody grief and energy. Because I think if we can add to the other element of when I asked you, what should people do when they're considering buying a cottage? Well, wouldn't you say talking to people that have done it? Asking them their experience?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When we looked at cabins, once we'd actually pinned down that the Slanty Shanty was the one for us, the first thing we did was we actually went and we checked out the neighbours.
Right.
And we learned, incredible things. We're not on a highway. We're not on a public road. So we have to share responsibility for the upkeep of the road. So suddenly you think, okay, well, that's going to cost. And you just piece together an identikit. And then you hopefully make a decision at the end and you say, okay, you know what? This is the cabin for me. When we heard about the story of Slanty Shanty, it'd been sitting empty for over a year because the chap who had it before had passed away. But he'd had decades of fantastic times up here. There was so much heart in this particular space. And when we heard tales from the neighbours, about what a great guy he was, well, that just gives you a bit of feel-good factor as well, And I think that's something that you're looking for in the cottage. It's something that you can't really design in. It's either there or it's not. And it's really nice to try and continue someone's heritage and history.
One thing that's really important for us, Erin, is the fact that we've been property speculators for 25 years. We've bought and sold literally dozens of homes around the world, and we've found them in a really rough condition, polished them, and created market-ready and market-appropriate homes. But obviously, you know the Toronto market, we know the Toronto market, you know the global market, we know the global market, but just let's consider for a moment the Toronto market, where the average median price is $1 million for a detached home and about $700,000 for a semi-detached home. So many people are being pushed out of the urban market in terms of buying and getting onto the property ladder that more and more people are now looking at cottage country as a way to speculate. Now, for the longest time, people said that the cottage market isn't an area in which you can speculate. We can prove them wrong with season 2 of Cabin Pressure, because as much as Colin and I make a lot of noise and have jazz hands and shout and scream, we're really focused property developers and really focused on finding the biggest return. Now, we bought this little cabin for 300 grand, okay? It's now worth somewhere between 850 and 900 grand. So it's almost tripled in value. Okay, we spent 150 grand on it, but you add 289 grand, which is what we paid, to the 100 or 150 reno costs. That's a phenomenal profit.
You've made almost half profit. That's unbelievable.
Oh, my God. Oh, easily. And that's what people can do, Erin. I mean, we love the fact that our show is lively and upbeat and crazy and silly, but there's so much considered design on there. And we firmly believe that if people are prepared to take the risk and jump out of an urban context for a minute and into a cottage environment, speculate to accumulate, sell, move back to your urban situation, and use the profit that you've brought with you from cottage country to allow your city dream to come alive. It's really, really possible.
Oh my God, but then there's another generation out there, and these are the empty nesters. We love the empty nesters. We love these great families that have really big homes in suburbia. And sure, the kids have grown up, they've gone to college, they've married, they've moved into their own homes, and mum and dad are rattling about in these big spaces. So we say to mum and dad, okay, no more rattling. What's your dream? And for like 9 out of 10, they say, well, we'd love to have kind of had a cottage at some point. And we've used other people's cottages. We've shared friends' cottages. And now that we're getting to that kind of retirement stage, wouldn't it be great to have a cottage? And we're like, okay, well, the property prices in the metropolitan areas in Canada are going through the roof.
Take advantage of it.
Why not take advantage? Why not spend a little money on the house that you've got to update it, to make it, don't sell it as it is. Don't think, okay, we'll just get out. Take away all the pattern, plane it up a little bit, maybe even put a new kitchen and bathroom in there. As Justin always says, speculate to accumulate. But do that and then sell it for a profit. And maybe you'll be able to buy a condo in the city so you can keep one foot in the city and buy a cottage in the country and have the best of both worlds.
Well, what I love,
you won't be rattling around in some big house that you can't afford anymore.
Absolutely. And that's the key. It's understanding your lifestyle. And what are you going to do? Just sit on that money. There's ways in which you can make it grow. And I love the fact that I've always said there's money to be made in cottage properties. There's a global appeal. It's no different than the Toronto market. People put their money in these condos. Why? Because they feel it's safe. Canada is safe. Well, there's no other forms of cottaging in the world that compares to Canada, especially here in Ontario, Northern Country. And as a result, that appeal allows for us to understand incredible growth. So people that bought in the 60s and 70s, well, they've paid so little for those properties and they've received the greatest gain. But in a lot of cases, you boys have just proven what you've done here in Cabin Pressure Season 2 with the Slanty Shanty is you've accumulated great gains from doing some major work, a little sweat equity here, but you found the right place. You did your homework. You surrounded yourself with the professionals, experts. And as a result, you have something that you put just shy under $400K into that you can turn around and sell well over $800,000. And it is doable and you're doing it.
Exactly, we're doing it. That's why we love talking to you, Erin, because you've obviously got such an incredible handle on what you can do in property and how you can speculate whether
and I've done it.
Say again?
And you've done it.
And you've done it, Erin. Of course, that's why people understand and appreciate and believe you. You've got the believability factor. Now, we love our shows and we're really proud of them, but it's brilliant to step outside all the fun, crazy stuff for a moment and show that we've got a really capable mind when it comes to speculation. Yeah. Now, we've done this traditionally for years and years. We've taken the roughest houses and turned them into the best houses. But our big key piece of advice to anybody is to stop, look and listen. Think twice, so you only have to buy once. And to fail to plan is to plan to fail. If you buy just your first heart reaction, then your head is going to have real problems when you can't sell it, when the mathematics don't stack up. So really carefully plan what you want. If it's for you, then make it for you. But if you're speculating, then know your market. Make your home style match your lifestyle. Make your home style match your lifestyle. Or make it match the lifestyle of those people that you think are likely to want to invest. And if you do that, there is such a good income to be made. But people say to us, what's the biggest return you can get from your property, whether it's a condo, a back split, an urban home, a suburban home, whatever. The biggest return is a different return for everybody. For us, in our homes, the biggest return we can get is just lifestyle factor on a daily basis by improving. But in the city, I guess you're looking at bathroom changes and kitchen changes because they're the rooms people buy fully furnished. They're the rooms that you see and you get as you saw when you move in. The other rooms have got the furniture stripped out. But it's different in the cottage. There's something about atmosphere, and it's the atmosphere more than anything that I think people are looking for. Obviously, really good sleeping accommodation as well, as many guests as you can possibly get in a comfortable way. But it's very much more about atmosphere and satisfying that lovely little ticking beat that you've got inside your body as you walk through.
Yeah, I love it. I love the stop, look, and listen. It's so important because people do, you are moved, you're emotionally, even you talking about your Slanty Shanty, there's an emotional pull, but that could be a kiss of death when you're really trying to be an investor. If you're doing this for a purpose, you've got to, I love that, think twice, sleep on it, look at all the pros and cons, compare, understand what your agenda is and stick bloody well to it. Because once you start going off track, well, that's when your heart's taking over your mind, and that's when you can make costly and silly decisions that ultimately is going to change. Because a lot of people try this, Colin and Justin, and they fail. So why do they fail?
I think sometimes, obviously, it says what you're talking about, that they've made the wrong decision from the get-go. And then they try and do something that doesn't appeal to the market. And it's kind of like you're a family of four. You're not going to buy a two-seater sports car, and stick the kids in the boot. It's not going to happen. So you've got to be aware of the limitations of each property. Obviously proximity to like a major city makes a big difference. Do people want to drive for 3 hours? Do they want to drive for 3.5 hours? So keep an eye on that, obviously, and whether it is kind of genuinely 4 season. I think once you've got your cabin as well, there's no point doing what everyone else is doing because then you're not going to stand out.
Right.
And sure, it's not about spending an absolute fortune. You're not going to put in a marble-lined swimming pool and spend $1 million and expect to get that money back because that ain't going to happen. So be aware of the ceiling. The top price that you can get in your area. But then spend your money wisely. Our big obsession with cottaging is connection to the great outdoors. And we had a log cabin in Muskoka, which was great and really cozy in the winter. And we actually blew out a whole wall and put doors in because we wanted to be connected. We wanted to see the view. We didn't want to sit away in the dark. And here in the Slanty Shanty in Halliburton, we've taken, the tiny little windows that are in every cottage. It's always 2 panes and one slides over the other. You've seen a million of them. And it's a disappointment. You're like looking through a letterbox. Hi, I'm trying to see the trees.
Absolutely.
We've taken 2 really small bedrooms and we've blown out the entire back wall of each room. We've glazed them so that and we've put a little deck outside each of them. So there's a table and chairs. So when guests come, these tiny little rooms that are actually quite snotty little rooms suddenly feel like suites because you can
brought
see
the outside in.
You've got a dedicated sitting area. The glass is unbelievable. The light. It means our guests can wake up when the sun comes up. And it's all about connection, and so that's really important. If you can do special little things that I think still tie into very much traditional cottaging, but do something with a bit of a 21st century twist, then you're going to make a difference.
I wonder if we can try and give Erin a sneak peek at one of those rooms that we've changed the windows in. I wonder, Erin, if I can take this through. Stay with me, because I'm going to try and show you a room that had a previously tiny window, and we've knocked out the whole wall. And we've used a company called Euro Vinyl Windows.
Right.
And added these massive grates. That's literally almost wall to wall. These windows now and doors. Can you see that, Erin?
I can. It's beautiful. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, that was previously... There's a headboard that Colin mentioned that we made out of the old dock.
Isn't that amazing? Look at that.
Do you know what? We always say that one of the only things that limits you in the world of cottaging, or any home really, is an inability to really plot and plan everything you want. I know so many tales of so many people that have renovated so many homes have gone wrong because they haven't understood the market, they haven't dealt with a good realtor, they haven't gone back for a second or a third look before making a crazy first offer.
Right.
They haven't appraised the road conditions, they haven't appraised all the things that might potentially appeal or not appeal to subsequent markets. And you've really got to I would always say, slow down.
Stop, look, listen.
Slow the truck.
Stop, look, and listen.
Stop, look, and listen.
Yeah.
Yes, slow right down and really understand what you want. Maybe you are thinking of speculating short term. Then you just have to know what other buyers are looking for at that time, and that could change. Stuff changes with the addition of a new road, the closure of an old road. Yeah. That so many things to consider.
Yeah, and I think work your realtor as well. Look at everything. If you think, oh my goodness, we're really taking up their time because we've looked at 5 properties today, look at 55, until you find it. It's almost like speed dating, and the thing is, if you get there and you don't like it, then don't waste anyone's time. Don't feel that you've got to be polite and walk around and and go, well, maybe, blah. Just be honest.
Yeah, it's a big investment. You want to buy it right, buy it at the right price. You want to, again, stop, look, and listen, make sure it's the right one. Do your comparison, do your pros and cons. But then once you say this is it, I think it's great because you both said it. You have to devise a plan, and ideally you're going to have little hidden treasures and little surprises. So you got to prepare for that, but you try and stick to that plan as best as possible. You got to think with your brain. It's a business as opposed to a lifestyle choice that you're doing for your personal enjoyment. They're 2 different heads, 2 different minds, 2 different strategies, right?
And you've also got to be prepared to have a good contingency of anywhere between 15 and as much as 25%, which sounds like a huge extra percentage. but cottages have a higher cost to refurbish generally if you do it properly than city homes, because the resources are less perhaps in cottage area. It's really hard. You try getting a plumber to come at short notice in the city, it's bad enough. In cottage country, it's almost impossible.
It is. And even with island property too. I mean, there's a lot of island builds going on, and that's something that people they're wanting. It's becoming, they've always been around, but now there's people that want to have that space that people just can't come and visit unless they get out in a boat or unless they snowmobile too. So that's the same thing. As soon as you go to an island, I mean, your costs, 40%, 50% more.
Another thing you've got to think about there with island properties, it's really important. Okay, so in the winter when the ice is solid, really solid, you can get across the ice to your cabin, okay? Mm-hmm. In the summer, when there's no ice, you can swim across or boat across. What happens for that period of a month or maybe 6 weeks when the water is too hard because there's a bit of ice to get a boat through, but not solid enough to walk upon? So
that's when you go. That's when you go to Florida.
Yeah, that's when you go south. But there are so many things that you've got to consider, because we looked at a few island cottages, and we were completely smitten by one in particular. And it was so close to the land. It was only about, I don't know, a 2-minute boat journey. But that's fine when the water is water. It's fine when the water is solid ice, but when it's slush and you can't either go on it or sail through it, then you're in trouble. Yeah. That's why they're always cheaper.
Exactly. Right. But, one of the things that we learned quickly is obviously you're in cottage country, so it's not like shopping in the city. So sometimes you can get some great local people up here, some great experts. We've got a great guy called the Harry Potter who's made some pottery for us and stuff up in Halliburton, like incredible. So that's really good fun, but when you're out shopping for furniture or stuff, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to go to the city. What you have to do to keep the price down is go shopping, go for a week's shopping and put everything aside and then do all your deliveries in one. You will hire one truck, one driver, and he will go and pick up everything and swoop it up to you. You're not going to try and get 15 things delivered because it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. I mean, for a truck and 2 drivers, you're probably talking about $600 to $800. Yes, that's right. And so don't do it for one sofa.
Or it's worth the investment, because if you're up there and honestly you wonder why there's so many pickup trucks, well, maybe it's worthwhile actually investing in one. Just saying. You boys are unbelievable. Wealth of knowledge. It is something that you've done it. Your shows are fantastic because we're getting to experience it with you. It's real. It's happening. And I think you're infectious as well. I mean, let's be real. You're so much fun. But your business, your business people, you are truly doing this and you've made a great living out of it. And more importantly, you're giving back by helping to educate others so that they can try and do it the right way, as opposed to making costly mistakes, because there's no wrong time to try. There's no wrong time to start. You've got people that are the empty nesters that say, okay, I've got a wad of cash. You know what? I'd like to do this. This is something I'd like to do with my kids, or I just want to do this. I've always wanted to. There's no such thing as too late. You always can do this. But I think the tips and advice that you provided, and there's lots of resources out there. There's lots of people that have done it and done so successfully. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, you can actually surround yourself with those people this weekend. Because we're at the Cottage Life Show, which is at the Exhibition Centre. I think we're on at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And we're going to be talking through, some before and afters from both seasons of Cabin Pressure. So we'll give you a little sneak peek at what's coming up in season 2. But we're going to be talking about the kind of things that we talked about today with you, about how to actually make your dream cottage a reality, the things that you should avoid, things you can do to actually get more bang from your buck. But I think we're learning as well, so we love an exhibition like that because we can go and talk to specialist builders, the people who build log cabins or the people who can do solar paneling or whatever, and it's great to go and speak to these people. So if you're in the market to buy a cottage, why not, go to an exhibition like Cottage Life and talk to people? How much does that cost? What is a septic system? How much do they cost? How many toilets can you ask? A million practical questions. Get yourself a wad of information and read. Knowledge is power.
Power, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, Erin, we're running a contest in association with the Toronto Sun newspaper. And if any of your viewers or listeners want to go on to the Toronto Sun website and then seek out the contest page, you'll find the contest to win a chauffeur-driven Colin and Justin hands-on healing experience taken from Toronto or your home in the surrounding area, driven by chauffeur to our brand new cabin that you can see on Cottage Life's Cabin Pressure. Lunch, dinner, cocktails on the dock as the sun goes down, and then a chauffeur-driven drive all the way back home for you guys. So 2 people can win that. So jump online, torontosun.com, go to the contest page.
Well, hello, and the best dock boys ever, just saying.
Well, exactly. Maybe you'll have your Speedos on, Justin.
Maybe I will.
Okay, that's illegal.
Budgie smuggling.
What a horrible thought.
That's not a budgie, it's a full parrot.
Yeah, no, that's just illegal. That's all I got to say is illegal. So we want to remind everybody. So Toronto Sun, let me try that again. So we want to remind everybody, torontosun.com, and then go on to contests, and all the information's there. And more importantly, the Cottage Life Show, March 27th to 29th. That is something where, my goodness, all under one roof, you have a wealth of resource, all these experts that you can go and speak with, products that you can learn from. I mean, if you tried to do that, what you could do in a day and a weekend, it would take you years to try and do.
It's a mixture of big names and big ideas under one roof that will save you so much time going from project to project and retailer to retailer and big box store to big box store. Everything's there under one roof. It's the ultimate in focused shopping. It's the ultimate in focused cottage improvement. And it's ultimate in free information harvest. So get along to the show. We're there on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Having a fabulous time with our audience, so come on by.
Yeah, and better than that, come on, it's been a long winter, hasn't it? There's a dock party. There's an all-day dock party at the Cottage Life Show. So where else can you have a dock party in Canada?
Inside.
Yeah, exactly.
No kidding. Well, I think, again, everybody, we're pushing it out there, and it is a fantastic show. It's an experience unto itself. But also, on Friday, we're going to, the three of us are going to hang out, and of course, we're going to cause all sorts of trouble on that opening morning. So we'll feature a lot of exhibitors, a lot of experts, and just cause a whole lot of trouble. So I look forward to that, of course, gentlemen. But I think also what we'll do is we'll make sure we come up and see, because I think it's important for people to see the Slanty Shanty, because I'm already so keen and interested in what you've gone through. But I also think your first log cabin in Muskoka, I think we should also go and check that place out as well, because that's your first season. So they've watched first season, now they're into two. I think we certainly should do a little showcase of our own, and you can give us a guided tour. What do you think?
Well, the good news is obviously the network's on free preview at the moment, so just check with your cable provider. We're there Sunday nights at 9 o'clock every Sunday, and you can actually watch season one. You can download season one on iTunes, so you can catch up.
There you go, gentlemen.
Our pleasure.
Love you both. You're fantastic. And we're going to see you on Friday.
Indeed.
Cheers, chicken.
Look forward to Erin.
Big hugs.
Bye.
Bye.